I was early in my career, at that $60,000 job wanting to, bring my income up, but the work just wasn't there. And so after my divorce, it's like I wasn't making great money and I was single mom too. So I did a lot of things to really live on less, but try to have the best life I could. And I feel like I did a really good job at that. So, you know, really the biggest areas for me to cut back on were housing and groceries. And I've said this about housing to people, and I would say the vast majority of people are like, absolutely not. I'm never going to do that.
Welcome to Holistic Dose. We've been through the plot twists, divorce, parenting, burnout, and now we're doing midlife with way more honesty and way less BS. Think of us as your unfiltered friends, here to remind you that you're not too late, too old, or too far behind. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Jeanette.
And today we're going to be talking about how to live well on less. Let's talk about how to budget for your comeback season. We've all had these moments in our life.
And the reason we really want to talk about this today is because a lot of our listeners and me personally as well have gone through or are going through life transitions where temporarily you need to budget more and be more careful with your finances. For example, when I got divorced, it was at the same time as starting a brand new business.
Mhm.
And I had to be really careful with what I spent. And it was just a temporary situation, but I didn't want to get myself in a bad financial position by overspending. So I wanted to give some folks some tips and tricks because I know that we have listeners who are building businesses, going through divorce, and needing to temporarily change their financial situation until they rebuild.
Yeah, and a lot of people too, I think we cover a lot about you're not too late, you're not too old to start over. There's plenty of women out there who are saying, I've always wanted to do this or that in my career. And how do I go about it? Well, sometimes it's going to take budgeting yourself. If you're going to make the leap to something new, sometimes you need to take a step back in your income earnings to be able to get to that next level.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm hopeful that the tips we give folks today will be helpful. So the first is just talking about budgeting. And
Mhm.
I'll tell you that I am better at finding ways to cut back than actual budgeting, but I can tell you what I have done in the past. So it's never been successful for me just to create the budget. The harder
Mhm.
thing is to actually stick to it and know what you're. So the thing that worked for me in the past, and I haven't been good about it lately, but when I really needed to budget, what I would do is I would create a budget in an Excel spreadsheet and I would kind of figure out what's reasonable to spend in these different categories based on my income, where can I be careful, etc. And then I did what's called the envelope system. Have you ever heard of
Mm,
that?
actually, I think so, where you do tuck away a little bit. I've saved this on Instagram in so many of my folders. I'm like, I have to try this. So tell us more about that.
So back in the day, it was a literal envelope. It was before everything, I'd never have cash anymore, right? But you would have actual envelopes that you put cash into for that category. So there'd be an envelope for eating out, or I've always combined entertainment and eating out. So it's kind of like
Yep.
coming from the same pot. You can have an envelope for gifts, Christmas gifts, birthday
Uh-huh.
gifts, whatever, an
Uh-huh.
envelope for, whatever you're spending money on, right? The bigger things, though, it's like you have your pot of like, these are essentials. Like, this is what I
Mhm.
have to spend every month on my mortgage and my car payment, etc. Groceries is a big one, and
Oh
it's a big
God.
place where people can cut back. So I think it's good to have an envelope just for groceries. So now that we're not as cash based as we used to be, people can do electronic envelopes. And so I'm not doing this for myself personally, although I think that my personal finances would be a lot better if I did, but I do it for my business. And I mean, it's excellent. So what I do for my business, it's actually called Profit First. That's a book that was written about how to handle your business finances to make sure that you're paying yourself first.
Mhm.
But it basically, and it doesn't call it the envelope system, but it basically is an envelope system. And so, what we have done for my business and what we really should do personally is we have set up multiple bank accounts. And every single time my business, the way that income comes in is actually pretty similar to getting a paycheck because I bill twice a month. Some businesses, it's just kind of constantly flowing. But when I bill twice a month, that money that's coming in, we automatically distribute it to these different accounts. A
Uh-huh.
certain percentage goes into, for us, taxes, right? Like,
Yes.
because,
I had that
um
set up the same way.
yeah.
Mhm.
So every single month or every single pay period, a certain percentage goes into the tax account. A certain percentage goes into the profit account, which is basically owner draws. So you can do that on a personal level too. And I've seen a couple of clients who have done this and they actually go to their bank and they're like, I need 5 different checking accounts.
Wow.
And and you make the checking account. This is the entertainment account. This is the, Christmas gift or vacation or, however you want
Yeah.
to do it. And it's really great because then you can just log in, look at your balance, and know how much you have left that month to spend on eating out slash entertainment.
I think that's a little bit kinda like I mentioned before, I use that Opportune app, and it somewhat does it that way, but it's not like a set like, basically, you put the goals that you want, like, "I wanna save $1,000 by Christmas," and then every day it pulls out a couple cents here and there for all your different goals. But I have gotten to some times where I've gotten to the goals and I'm like, "It's not fully met." And it's like, because
Yeah.
you went and added all these things, it's like, "There's no way I can just make more money for you, Tiffany, if you're gonna keep adding goals. We can't fulfill all of them." So I kinda like the system a bit better. I'm gonna try this out.
Yeah, my husband hates Opportune, so I've used that app, and like Tiffany says, like, you go into the app, you can create several different goals, and
Mhm.
then it will just, like, slowly kinda suck money out of your account, but what would drive Jeff crazy is never knowing when that was going to hit, and every
Yes.
once in a while, it would do a bigger one, like, there'd be small, like, $25, but every once in a while, it'd be, like, 300 or
It's like,
something.
"Oh, shit, we need to get to that my
Yeah.
eyelid surgery goal. We need to pull $500 really quick so she can we can help her get there." Yeah, no. And then too, yeah, with that one, it's like, if you did just get, like, a bonus, like a large sum of money into your account, you need to put something on pause or tell it to not pull from there because then
Yes.
so it's a little bit more managing, so I like your system a bit better.
Yeah, so I find that that works really well, and, then I have tips on just how to live on less. I
Mhm.
had to do this, so after my divorce I've had to do it a couple times. When I was in law school, I was really broke. I got married during my 2nd year of law school,
Mhm.
and I was married to he was like a private school teacher. He did not make money. And so basically we lived off of his and I think he made like $40,000 and then I had student loans and I wanted a min
I mean, back then, like, my first college right out of college, my first salary was 39,000, and I was
Yeah.
so excited, and now that's a whole other topic. Now, these generations, they're, like, not happy with 50 or 60. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, my first job as a lawyer, I made 45. That was my first year, and then I moved to a job where I made, I think, like 60 or 65. But yeah, like sometimes, especially when you're young. So, yeah, after my let's see, law school and then after my 2nd divorce, both of those times I really had to budget. And with my
mhm,
2nd divorce, people think, "Oh, lawyers, you always make so much money." But people don't
mm-mm,
realize how hard the real estate bubble that burst in the earlier 2000s hit the legal field and
mhm.
especially family law attorneys. We saw people not divorcing because they were
Oh,
stuck in homes together.
you're right, and they were just like, "We need any," and people were losing jobs like crazy,
Yes, it
so
was awful.
they had to just stick it out. You're right, I didn't even think about that. Mhm,
So I was early in my career, at that $60,000 job wanting to, bring my income up, but the work just wasn't there. And so after my divorce, it's like I wasn't making great money and I was single mom too. So I did a lot of things to really live on less, but try to have the best life I could. And I
mhm,
feel like I did a really good job at that. So really the biggest areas for me to cut back on were housing
mhm.
and groceries.
Yep.
And I've said this about housing to people, and I would say the vast majority of people are like, absolutely not. I'm never gonna do that. But I got a roommate.
I considered being your roommate. I considered heavily. Mhm.
Yeah, like, I remember when the idea came to me, and when I was going through my divorce, I didn't think, "Oh, I'm gonna get a roommate," but Logan was over at his dad's house. I'm sitting by myself, and the house was not big. I think it was 1,500 square feet, but it was a
Mhm.
four-bedroom house. It was 4
Right.
bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and I'm sitting by myself in this house, and I'm like, "There's all this unused space.
Mhm.
Like, we don't need this many bedrooms," and I'm like, it would make such a big difference financially to rent out a bedroom." And that I started doing that, and I ended up continuing to do it even when I didn't really need to
Right.
because it was so nice. So even when I was making 6 figures again,
Mhm.
I had a roommate, and I would find single mom roommates.
Yeah, single mom. So I remember talking to you about it because this is when I was, like, contemplating or starting the process for divorce, and our kids, like Logan and Gabby, were like besties in daycare. And you were like, oh, we could help each other watch each other's kids while we're
Mhm.
working and then be able to go out. And then they have a built in sibling and, entertainment for each other. But then ultimately, I decided it made more sense for me to live closer to where my office was in Buckhead.
There are negatives, right? You have a
Mhm.
roommate. Like, I had one roommate with a really stinky dog and
Personalities, and you're like, you ate my
exactly.
last bowl of cereal,
Right.
whatever.
And I'm messy. I know that, like, some of the roommates, I got on their nerves, but ultimately, the financial benefit of it was worth it for everyone involved.
Hmm.
And I had
It's
several
temporary.
different exactly, it's temporary. I had
Mhm.
several different single mom roommates, and what they paid me was half of my mortgage payment and
Mhm.
half of all the utilities. And it was really because of that, that I was able to go on girls' trips still
Mhm.
and have the cash to do fun things without
Yeah.
putting it on credit cards. It was because of that.
Yeah.
And for me, that was absolutely worth it. And I also encourage people going through a transition to not hang on to that big house and to really consider, like, can I really keep this up? Even my small house, the little 1,500 square foot
Mhm.
house, it was a lot. And if I hadn't
The lawn maintenance and everything. Yeah.
yes, if I hadn't remarried when I did, I was thinking, like, maybe I wanna just get a condo
Yes.
because the exterior maintenance was so much.
And it falls on everybody's shoulders, but I've talked to people before too who are just miserable in their life, and they're like, "They didn't wanna give up the house and the setting," and I'm
Yes.
like, "Really?" Like, I love that. It felt
Mhm.
fun for Gabby too. We felt like we were living in a hotel, also being in a condo, you know?
Yeah, I hear that a lot with clients going through divorce that
Mhm.
really want to hang on to the home, but just haven't thought about all the additional expenses involved.
Mhm.
The bigger the residence, the higher the utility bills. I'm like,
And the taxes and everything. Yeah.
yes. On our current house, which is, I mean, it's large. It's like 4,000 square feet. It's not uncommon to have a $600 electric bill.
Oh my god. My electric bill is like $70 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
70, $80.
Like, especially in the summer, like, we're
Mhm.
constantly running the AC, and we're
Yeah.
bad about turning out the lights. So, definitely really think about, is there really a benefit to me to having this big, more expensive residence, and might it be beneficial to downsize?
Yeah, just to maintain either its appearances or whatever, but, for a short amount of time to get back out there and build
Yeah.
whatever it is you wanna build.
Yeah, and a lot of folks had this incredible interest rate. I mean, that's a situation that I'm in now with this big house is our interest rate is under 3%,
Mhm.
and I think we're gonna be ready to, move from here in maybe 4 years. So, something else people can consider is, can you rent out the bigger house
Mhm.
and hang on to that low interest rate and then, find something smaller. So, that's another tip, is to really look at, do you need the bigger house? And then groceries is a challenge because, they're just so expensive and it does take a good bit of effort in my experience to really stay on top of grocery spending. I'm horrible with it now,
Me
but
too.
I don't put the time and effort into it. Like I use the Instacart app and, pay all kinds of money for that. But there've been times where I just really had to budget for groceries. When I was in law school, I did the coupon, like, double up coupons with what's being, is
Mhm.
on sale. But, one tip I have is just planning your meals around what's on sale. So even if you don't
Mhm.
want to, like, clip coupons on top of the sales, which is a lot of work, at a minimum, just every week, look at what's on sale
Mhm.
and plan your meals around that. Also, so meat is the big thing. Like,
God, the cost of it is just, like,
yes.
ridiculous.
So, just eat the meat that's on sale that week and then also know the prices where if a certain meat drops below a certain price that you can stock up on it and just put it in the freezer and then
Mhm.
use it later.
Yep.
So that's also a big tip. And then Aldi is a really great grocery store.
Yeah, I always forget to go there, honestly, but
Yeah.
the savings is truly amazing.
It really is. When I shop at Aldi, I see the difference in our grocery bill for sure, even when I'm not trying. Like if
Mhm.
I, buy the same things from, one grocery store and then go buy the same things from Aldi, my bill at Aldi is going to be lower. I don't know why because you can even Instacart from Aldi. And even when I Instacart from Aldi, it's still less
You know
money.
what also too really good in quality and taste and everything is Trader Joe's.
Yeah, I like Trader Joe's.
You can get so many pre-made meals and everything, and every time I leave there, I'm like, "I thought that was gonna be so much more," because when I leave Publix, it's easily Gabby looks at what we got and she's like, "It was that much? That's
Yeah.
crazy." Going back one thing to which I just remembered about the homes, I met somebody once who learned this tip from their sister where she bought like a really nice she had great credit and this was years ago and the interest rates were better. She purchased a home in like in our Atlanta area in Brookhaven where she was like, this is a super desirable area. And the purpose for it was that she rented out many rooms in the house, and
Mhm.
each had code on there. And what she did was the purpose of it was for long-term renters I'm sorry, for short-term renters that were for business-focused travel. So there was a lot of people, especially in the city we live in Atlanta, it's very, like, busy airport, lots of big companies are based here, and there's a lot of people and executives who are coming in for a week every other week or a couple nights, and they want a place to keep their things without it being in a hotel, their regular clothes and things, and not having to be in a huge apartment complex where there's
Yeah.
more issues. So she would run credit checks on them. And now you have to make sure if you're buying a property that it's an area that would accept this, that it's not like in an HOA that they're going to say, no, you can't
Yep.
do this. But she basically paid off, like, her whole property of this house and had only business people, and it was a more of a month-to-month thing, so if things didn't work out, you could terminate, change the code, but, yeah, you have to go through the extensive, like, the credit checks and everything, and then you find people who they just need a place to keep their stuff and they go there, and I was like, "God, that's something I would love to do."
Yeah. Also, folks who, if they're really wanting to keep the bigger house, but they have a basement with a separate entrance, figuring out how to set that basement up to rent it, even if it doesn't have a full kitchen. I think that my stepkid's mom does this. I don't think she has a full kitchen in her basement, but yes, but she does Airbnb, and some people who are just doing a short-term Airbnb don't care to have a full kitchen.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know all the details, but like a little fridge, a microwave, and couch, and exactly, a hot plate, and, that can make a significant difference too.
Yeah, because you have to think too, there's gonna be even if you're in the residential area, some people are coming in town for an interview or they're visiting their kids, but there might not be enough room for them to stay there, or they just wanna visit but not stay in their house. There's so many opportunities there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's see, another tip I have is with hair. So, that was such a big expense. Like I used to get highlights, and
Mhm.
it's easy to spend. I mean, I've spent $500 before going to the salon and getting a cut and highlights and whatever. So when I became a single mom, I found a hairdresser who worked out of her home. And you can typically find this by going into the Facebook moms groups and
Oh, yeah.
asking, like, give me the name of someone good who works out of their home and is affordable. And it's usually someone who's like a stay at home mom
Mhm.
who wants to make extra cash and they have the experience. They're good, right?
Mhm.
But the prices are so much less because they're not in a salon. And you go to their house and get your hair done. A lot of times their kids are there. I've brought Logan, and it's like Logan plays with the hairdresser's
Yeah.
kid, and I get my hair done, and it's so much cheaper. So
Mhm.
that's another tip as far as instead of having salon prices. And then with like beauty,
Mhm.
I'm not now I blow a lot of money at Sephora, but I got really good at looking into dupes,
Yep.
and I know now we've all heard, like, dupes, like, you can go onto TikTok.
Mhm.
There's a blog, I think it's still active, but, it was really big back before everything was about video. It's
Mhm.
called Temptalia. Have you ever heard of Temptalia?
No, I haven't.
So it's a blog, and it might still be active, where she reviewed, makeup, and for every makeup review, she would have dupes, and some of them were dupes from more expensive brands, but then she'd also have drugstore dupes. I use that all the time. If I were like, "I really like this MAC color, but can I get it at the
Yeah.
drugstore?" And most of the time, you can find pretty much an exact copy of a more expensive product, and I still do that sometimes. Clinique Black Honey is one where there's, like, a Nivea, balm that I think looks exactly the same, and I learned about that by
I found a
Googling.
lot of that stuff even on, Temu, to be honest.
Oh, really? I've never ordered from
Mhm.
Temu. It
Mhm.
it kinda makes me nervous. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but, so you mentioning about how to save with makeup, it reminds me of stories that my grandma would tell me. So this is like she grew up in Ukraine, and whenever, she was always very careful about she wanted to save every little thing. Like, it was to the point where, paper plates, like, had to rinse them and leave them to dry.
I've heard of people washing their Ziploc bags, yeah.
Yes, Ziploc bags, any kind of plastic bag, she would have so many of them and then forget it. If it was a department store bag, she had a collection of them. And it was like that with everything, and we would get on her and be like, "Grandma, we gotta get rid of it. This is just too much." And she would say, "You don't understand where I came from, how we grew up." And containers, like, if you finished a tub of yogurt and it had the lid, like, get your larger size yogurt, she would save every container as the Tupperware, yes. And she said, "Tiffany, you don't understand growing up there." Just to set people's reality, because I feel like we're in this overconsumption, like, "Oh my
Mhm.
god, I'm going through this, I just got divorced. How am I gonna not be able to afford this and this?" Let me tell you, people had it way harder and they survived and they got crafty. So
Yeah.
she would have to go to the market and they would literally, if they had to buy something with, like, if it was the yogurt or something in that liquid form, they would have to put it in their apron and just carry it. They didn't have tubs. And then lipsticks, they would save all the leftovers and pull them out and then remelt them down and use it and mold new ones.
Oh, wow.
Mhm. So you can get scrappy, not saying you have to go that far, but I think it's just a reality to know that everything is temporary so long as
Yeah.
you don't wanna end up in a situation where you're gonna overspend and go way beyond your means that you're gonna have to get to that point. I think we just need to do a little reality check there on how
And
much
I
we
can
can save.
honestly say that when I was living through the times where I had to be extremely careful with spending, I wasn't unhappy.
Mhm.
I was happier than I was married,
Yeah.
and I had fun. Looked nice with the makeup from
Mhm.
the drugstore. It really isn't as big of a deal as we make it out to be, or like we will feel going into it. It just isn't.
So I would love to talk about, because I'm trying to remember back from myself, when you first got divorced from Logan's dad, and then from when I did from Gabby's dad. how it was going from the 2 salaries to 1, and I know that you were more the primary breadwinner. Mine, it was more like equal, but I always, always, always had 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever opportunities with my freelance and my graphic design. But, how did that look like, and what were you fearing and panicking?
Yeah, so my situation, my husband, he did not really make any money.
I remember you used to talk to him, and I'd be like, "Hey, I make all this extra money freelancing, and you could do the
Yeah.
same." But it has to come from somebody wanting to do it themselves.
Yeah, so basically his income paid for daycare.
Which
And
yeah, that was yeah.
yeah, and that was it, like, it paid for daycare. And so the timing of the divorce, and it was, honestly intentional, was, when Logan went to pre-K, and then we no longer had that daycare expense.
Yes.
And so I was like, "All right." I mean, financially, because 100% of his income goes to daycare, now we don't have that expense, it really was kinda the same. So
Mhm.
I actually, we were broke.
But I can tell you now from remembering back then, I did not know that.
I don't think Logan, I don't know if he has any idea now. I don't hide it from him, but
Yeah.
I I don't think he would have any reason
Yeah.
to think we were
Mhm.
because, you I got the same groceries by just paying
Mhm.
attention, and he doesn't know we're having pork chops this week because they were BOGO, or, it just really didn't matter. So yeah, actually, when I got a roommate who paid half, I actually had more money than I was used to, which
Wow.
still, it still wasn't a lot of money. I really do think I was making like $60,000. I was not making much money.
Now I wanna also level set for people. You and I are both in the same situation. I know that we get a lot of hate on TikTok and everything when we mention divorce and things, and a lot of the men come for us and say, "Oh, well, your husbands are paying for alimony and child support."
Ha.
We don't get anything of that,
No, neither
no.
of us got any of that.
No,
Mm-mm.
no. So we're really just telling you from our, experiences that it's not like, "Oh my god, we were all of a sudden rich because we were collecting all this extra income." We weren't. Mm-mm.
No, no, we did it on our own. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
so, and that was my situation, so it wasn't really like this big adjustment, but it was a situation where I was like, "I need to get my own income up." I was really focusing on, and I did it, like, I mean, it
Mhm.
took a few years, but yeah, I just really needed to focus on, "Okay, let's live as well as I can on this lowish income that I have,
Yeah.
while I build my career." And then some of the habits that I learned, I continued. Like I said, I still had the roommate even when I was making
Mhm.
6 figures. And something else that I still do today is I will buy from ThredUp. So for clothing,
Mhm.
I will buy from consignment. And it's because there's certain brands that I know I like, or certain, a big one is like cashmere, like,
Mhm.
certain fabrics that I like, and I know that I could go buy it for $300 new. Or yesterday I found a cashmere sweater on ThredUp for 30 bucks, and it's in
Wow.
excellent condition. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, it's not about, like, I have to do this, it's more like my dollar could go really, really far if
Yeah.
I do it this way." The shirt I'm wearing today is from ThredUp, and it's
Oh.
Bowden, and, a Bowden shirt's like, I don't know, $98 or something, and I'm sure I didn't pay more than $30, and it is pretty much brand new. I don't buy
Yes.
stuff that looks worn.
Well, did you try out I sent you that link to that new app, that Whatnot.
Oh, no, I haven't tried that.
Yes, you need to check it out because I was texting in the middle of so many other things, but that app, I'm like, "Jeanette, this is gonna be your new obsession." And this is not like an ad by any means. No, because it's all these sellers that are selling live, and they're buying the pallets of, like, the Amazon or the overflow products, so
Oh.
you just learn which ones you like, and they literally show the product live, and it's like you just quickly bid, bid, bid. It's almost like what's it called? Like eBay, but it's, like, live, essentially, and, yeah, they show them off, and they tell the info. Some have a lot of it is just brand new, but a lot of it too, there are some or the user warranty, but they'll show you exactly, and you just bid, 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 and, Yeah, there's a good opportunity there to get tons of overflow. Mhm.
I actually find it fun for me. It's like, I don't know, getting something for 20 bucks that should have been
Yes.
100. I'm just like, "Ooh, look at the deal I got."
That was the first thing I got, like, it was, like, some Charlotte Tilbury, eyeshadow palette that normally retails for, like, 65 bucks, and I think I won it for 27 or something.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I need to check that out.
Yeah, it'll say if it has free shipping or not or what it is, yeah, but it's a lot of fun, and I'll put a link to it in our show notes for sure, but there's a lot of opportunities like that. I agree.
And then when Logan was little, I did a lot of consignment for him,
Mhm.
and I learned about I think it's still around, this consignment sale. I don't know if it's twice a year or 4 times. It's seasonal. It's called All for Kids. Did you ever go to that? It
No.
would show up, like, on my Facebook feed. It is massive. Like, when I say
Huh.
massive, they find, like, a huge venue, and you usually stand in line, but it moves pretty quick. You have to bring some kind of big, like, there's no shopping carts or anything. So
Okay.
you need to bring, like, your own, like, a good one is, like, one of those big blue IKEA bags. Some women
Or
will.
maybe you can get some ones that have on wheels too, those little
Oh,
they have those kind of, like, collapsible totes that you can just wheel so you don't have to, like, lug it. Mhm.
I've also seen people do a laundry basket, and they'll tie, like, a rope to it and just drag it around. But those are really great because I think it's like a lot of stay-at-home moms who are just they're budgeting, right? And so they'll buy nice quality clothes for their kids, and then they consign it.
Mhm.
And then when you're buying it, I would know, like, the certain brands. I can't remember now what the good brands are. I know for girls, like, Hannah Anderson is one. And you could find these brands, or yeah, or like, even like Gap, like I would find Gap and, some different nicer, like, good, decent brands,
Yeah.
and they would be like, 2, $3 for a top, 2, $3 for jeans,
That's
and
amazing. That's like you get a month or 2 out of it because kids are growing so fast.
exactly. I would normally spend maybe 150 to $200 and get a huge wardrobe for Logan for that entire
Wow.
season, which, was a really including, like, shoes, like, sometimes they'd be new, like, it's like someone
Mhm.
bought it for their kids and they never wore it, the tag's still on it.
I have so much of that stuff. So much that I donated because I missed the window to return it or she decided she didn't like it, and I was like, "Oh my god." Yeah.
And so this is some the consignment sales like that, they tend to be a little crazy, like crowds and,
Mhm.
just it's not fun. Like, I only did that when I just really needed a deal, but there are also consignment stores. I
Mhm.
think one would be called Once Upon a Child,
Yes.
maybe. There's one near me. It's over by our grocery
Yep,
store.
that's a chain of
And
them.
so even after I met Jeff, I took his kids to it once,
Mhm.
and it was kind of fun with elementary age kids because they're not old enough to really know, like, "Oh, I like,"
It's rainbows and sparkles for them at that point. It's
exactly.
not like, "Oh,
And
that's not Nike or Lululemon."
yes, and so one time it was really fun, like, with the 3 kids, I was like, "You guys can buy anything you want." It was like they got to have a shopping spree.
Oh my god.
Autumn found this crazy hot pink faux fur coat, and she's like, "I want this," and it's like, "Yeah, whatever, like, buy the crap with sparkles, buy, whatever you want, we'll get," because it was so inexpensive, and it was fun for them, and
Mhm.
so, that's something that I kept doing. Now that our kids are high school, they're very particular, and
Well, let me tell you, the high school kids, what they're really into, I think I told you about this when I was going back to school shopping with Gabby. I spent 2 hours in the mall with her. She found nothing she liked. And then I was like, "But wait, where are your friends getting stuff?" She's like, "Well, a lot of mostly Goodwill." I'm like, "Are you
what?
shitting me?" Like, I just spent 2 hours in the mall here. I bought only stuff for myself, which fine, but I really didn't need to. And we could have just been at Goodwill. So we left and we went to Goodwill. That is a major trend right now that and I've asked other parents too, and they're like, "Yeah, their kids just wanna all go to Goodwill." And then sure enough, we went there and there was lots of the girls around her age. I'm like,
Really?
"Oh my god,
I like
yeah."
that trend.
Yes, ask Ava, I'm sure. Like, they just and it's a scavenger hunt for them, and so most of the places that Gabby and her friends are also buying clothes on is Depop. It's all those reseller stuff.
Okay. Interesting.
It was so funny, we were at the store the other day, she had a a T-shirt on that was like, Dave Matthews Band, like from a concert T-shirt that somebody and I had tried playing that music for her before when I wanted to go to Dave Matthews, and she was like, "Who is this? I don't know." And so we're in a store, and the guy is asking her, "Who's on your shirt?" She's like, "I don't know." I was like, "Oh, it's that band that you didn't wanna listen to before."
And we should have saved all of our old stuff because now it's like the cool vintage stuff.
I know, and it's, like, worth stuff to them. So they would think we're cool. What about some, like, other activities and things that you would do kind of on a more of a
Trying
budget?
to think about what kind of activities we did. Honestly, we got together with a lot of single moms. I
Mhm.
was in like a single moms Facebook group and we would get kids together. Went to the park all the time.
Yeah, we did a lot of the park.
Logan was always just very active, and so a lot of just, like, outdoor. I had a vegetable garden, and,
Mm.
it was pretty big, and I would take Logan out to the vegetable garden even when he was, like, barely walking. I would set up, like, a playpen outside
I
and put some
remember.
toys in it, and then I would go, like, weed in the garden,
Uh-huh.
and I would let him taste stuff, like, I had, one big area of, like, just herbs, and I would, like,
Mhm.
go over to him and be like, "Try mint, Logan," and,
Yeah.
that was really fun, and we had chickens.
Oh my god, I don't know if I know about that.
Yeah, we had
How
4
did you ever take
chickens.
care of chickens, Jeanette?
Yeah, they died, so I don't
Oh
know if it
my
was my
god.
fault, but and they
Uh,
actually were pretty low maintenance.
one thing that I did with Gabby that I loved and it became our thing. Now, I don't know if this is still around, but I'm sure it is to some degree because movie theaters are really not getting the traction like they used to, and they're trying to get the traffic in there. So, there was an AMC that was right next door to my office, and on Tuesdays, it was like a $5 movie or something. And then there's also cheaper theaters that will show movies that have been passed. So, especially if you have little kids that you're like, "Oh, well, 2 years ago, they would have been too young to see that movie, but now it's the time and it's relevant, it's new for them." It became our bonding thing, so every Tuesday, I would book a movie and we would go. And then we, built up a points and reward system there too, so we got discounts, but I honestly always
Oh,
just,
that's
like,
awesome.
went and bought my own snacks at the dollar store, the big boxes of candy, or whatever
Mhm.
snacks you wanted, like, now you go pick it out and bring it in because everybody does it, I'm not spending $5 on a small box of M&Ms.
Yeah.
But that became our thing, like, we loved doing that every week together.
Something that Logan and I used to do all the time when he was little, and I had forgotten about this. This was from the time he was probably about 2 and through, like, elementary school, is we would go to the weekend farmers markets.
Mm,
And so much of it we wouldn't even spend that much money. A lot of it would be just, like, walking around, like, looking at the different stuff, and I'd get Logan, a big cookie, and,
mhm.
people would have dogs, so we'd pet people's dogs, and it was just, being out in the nice weather. That was always something that we spent a good bit of time doing.
It's finding those little rituals, even as simple as, like, we knew we were always gonna go to the grocery store and you go to the bakery and you get your free cookie or, like,
Yeah.
free piece of fruit they do in the grocery section. It's like those little things, it feels like special moments for the kids at that time. The kids are not learning about these things really from other
Mm-mm.
places except for us, so they're watching our
Yeah.
behaviors and our patterns. So if they get used to, "Oh, every time mommy takes me to the store, I need to buy something," they're not gonna know any different. So if you then become
Mhm.
in a hardship financial situation that you need to make an adjustment, it's gonna be a lot harder. So trying to
Yep.
teach them to appreciate the slow movement or slow
Mhm.
ways easier earlier on.
Also, like, looking at different churches in your community and different
Mhm,
events that they put on. I remember Logan and I once went to something. Johnson Ferry Baptist in Marietta was one that would
mhm.
always have stuff going on, and one time we went to something that had a bunch of, like, inflatable bouncy
Uh-huh.
stuff and the dunking booth, and, I think there was probably, like, a small fee to get in, but it was super affordable. And, so churches, especially big churches, often have just fun community things that are affordable.
Yeah. I think just there's other opportunities too. We were, creating our own new patterns and lifestyles together and like, okay, we're gonna explore cooking together and it becomes a teachable moment, but also
Mhm.
you get really savvy on what ingredients you have and looking up recipes together, and that becomes a fun thing to learn and do.
Yeah, so it's really just finding the simple things, like, we get so tied up in feeling like we just need to do these big, expensive, over the top things with our kids, and we don't.
No. No, so I wanna cover a bit on some income boosting ideas. I love side hustles. I love bartering. That was always my big thing. I'll tell you that anytime I worked anywhere, it was like very, very strategic reason usually or and or other purpose. So my first career, I was at an art director at a magazine and I had recently got engaged. I was like, oh, you know what? I asked my publisher, I said, could I offer like a free ad placement to a hotel so that I could get my expenses down? And he's like, sure. So I went to the hotel and it's like you'd never know if you're gonna get a yes or no unless you ask. So I was like, "Hey, I work at this magazine. Can I offer a free ad placement in exchange for lowering my overall wedding costs?" And they said, "Sure." They ever ended up never even running the ad. It worked out. But they gave me a discount. I got a side job working at a bridal, parlor, and I sold wedding dresses, and then I was able to buy my wedding dress at cost.
Oh, wow.
And my veil and it was, like, way cheaper because they let me buy the sample, which usually they don't, and there was always ways I was finding ways to save money like that, and then, freelancing. I think it's, like, looking at what your skills are, and there's so many new things with AI now that people can find other opportunities to do things and make extra money. Even just looking around your house, there was one season, I think it was, like, 2 Christmases ago, where I was looking at my condo and I was like, "I have all these other things around here that maybe I had left over from my marriage that was at a lot larger house than can fit in my condo," and I'm like, "This stuff is taking up space." Actually, it was more than a couple years ago. This was when I was like, "Oh my god, I really don't have money," after the 2 income, going down to
Mhm.
1, and I started listing a bunch of stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and I made like 1,500 bucks, like,
Oh,
pretty
wow.
quickly. I had so many things because what happens is over time is that especially when you go through divorce, I know it's not we're not speaking to everybody that's gone through that, but this is just my situation, and also, even if not, like, I get gifts from people that you're like, "What am I gonna
Mhm.
do with this? This is not my taste style." I literally started a closet with gifts and leftovers and duplicates of things, and then I would just go in the closet. It became my place to, like, pull one out, list it, pull one out, list it. What is it doing just sitting there, you know?
Mhm.
Just getting rid of things that you don't need. It's like there's other ways you can find money. You can do, online, product flips too, where you can find things that are like in TJ Maxx and Home Goods and go flip it online pretty quickly and
I've
easily.
seen people do that with stuff found at Costco.
Yes, yes, because that's the thing is that not everybody has Costco memberships and or certain things will sell out in the
Mhm.
area, and Costco does have a secret number system. I don't know if you know about this in
Mm-mm.
their pricing. I would have to put it, like, in the show notes because I don't remember it off the top of my head. However, there are certain codes to the way their prices are. If they end in a certain digit in their pricing, that it's gonna be, like, one time and done, or it's, like, gonna come back. Like, there's just certain things you kinda know if it's that, like, you gotta get it. So that's another, tip or hint.
Yeah, if you really get educated on the specific products that are good to flip, I've met people who've made 6 figures doing just
Oh,
that.
millions of dollars, yes. There was a
Yes.
guy that I went on a date with, and I'm trying to think his full-time career, what he was. He some maybe extermination company of not the super high level that he worked there, but he started doing this, it was, like, years ago during the like, many, many years ago during the holidays, he had to go get something late at night, and he drove past a Walmart in the city he was visiting in, and he saw people lined up, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And they're like, "We're waiting in line," and there's, like so they started teaching him the ways, and it became a thing for him, and he just became a niche seller in certain toys. It was like the Lego sets, like different things, and then you work online, you find a supplier that you then get from directly, and his whole basement had the rooms for everything and the stock for stuff, and he was
Oh,
pulling an
wow.
extra $1,000,000 a year
An extra million.
beyond his salary, so that wasn't he was pulling $1,000,000 a year in
Oh
that,
my
and so what
god.
he would do is he would take that money and buy rental properties. So then he was buying, like, mountain homes and things like that, and he was doing them Airbnb, but he didn't have the time because he worked a full-time job and did this to do it, so he just paid the extra fee at that point to have management companies, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"This is still on my to-do list of I wanna do this stuff." It's just you really kinda need some space to store the things,
Yeah, and you need the time, and you need
Yep.
to educate yourself on what are the right products because it only works with the right products that are in demand.
It does, and again, same thing for you and I, time isn't on our hand, which is
Yeah,
why we, go to use the Instacart because our time
exactly.
is more valuable spent in what we're doing in our careers, doing the work rather than going out and getting the groceries. Honestly, too, I do feel as though by using Instacart for Costco, I end up spending a lot less money at Costco than I ever would.
Yes. We spend more money if we go to the grocery store in person,
Mhm.
especially if we bring a kid along,
Yep.
because you're just throwing stuff that you didn't plan on into the cart. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it makes it a lot easier, and I think, like, using Instacart too, I really prefer it because it shows you, "Oh, do you wanna" we're eating the same things every week. So, it's like, just add all
Mhm.
that stuff again, and it every now and then will try to suggest other things, and I'm like, "Nope, nope, nope." So, if you stay on course and you get the membership, it's great. But,
Yeah.
product flipping, yeah, it can be really great if you have the time. It's not gonna be a quick thing necessarily, but you can make a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's
It
something
might
that doesn't require a certain education or experience.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of opportunities out there.
I did it one time, so because this is when I had taken a course on this, and then I had learned from a lot of people and different tips. And I'm like, "Let me just see." So I went to Goodwill, and I found a baseball cap, and it was an Atlanta Braves one, and I bought it for, like, $3 because Goodwill also has certain days, and I think they just recently launched a reward program, so I don't know what the thing is, but back then, it was, like, on Tuesdays, if it has an orange dot, it's gonna be X
Mm.
dollars off, and Wednesdays, you can get really strategic. So, I don't know which day it was, whatever, but all I know is I got this baseball cap for like 2, $3, I don't know. I put it on Facebook Marketplace, and then, like, in a couple days, I sold it for $20.
Oh, wow.
Not bad. Now, if I was more strategic and planning and then took more time to go to the most of many more stores and get other things, you can do pretty good. And I ended up buying a couple other things in that trip that I sold for money too, like some toy sets and things that were brand new. But my problem or challenge is that not having the time. I have so much work
Yep.
that I need to physically do the
Same.
time. But if there's somebody who has the time and they went from, being that single mom,
Exactly.
figure out what am I gonna do with my career, there's really opportunities. There's people out there who will go to Starbucks and get those cups that people are obsessed with. And all you have to do is really just and some woman this is the woman I learned the course from. She said that she started doing this because she went to Starbucks and it was like during the holiday time where there was some limited blend of some coffee. And there's some people who are just obsessed with specific brands and the blends and whatever. And they will go at any length to get it. But where they live in their, town or area, it's all sold out. But somebody over here or there needs and wants that. So she put it online and she was selling this coffee for like $100.
These folks who are good at flipping really could they made a lot of money in the pandemic. This makes me think of all those stupid above ground pools.
Uh-huh.
And it's like people I think a lot of these folks who do the flipping are just they get to where they're really savvy on knowing just
Yep.
trends and
Mhm.
what's popular. And so when the pandemic started, certain items that everybody was wanting, one of them
Yes.
were these little above ground pools.
You're
They
right.
were sold out at all like the Walmarts and Amazon. I paid a premium. So I really wanted one, and I
Mhm.
think I eventually found one on eBay, and I think I paid 2 or 3 times what it sold for at Walmart just because it was so hard to find one.
Oh, it was the same thing with that jumbo skeleton you have, right?
Yeah, oh, you're right. Yes, I thought those are really hard to find, the Home Depot 12-foot skeletons.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and, the girl who found mine for me, she was like, "There's several here," and if she had space in her car, I would've been like,
Grab them all. But you know what was already marked down on clearance? Target has those same sections, Walmart does, and even when I was looking into it, there's different apps that you can use that you can check before you go to a physical store how many they have in stock or what the prices are, and then go and compare. And oftentimes when you go there, then the price ends up being way less even than what's shown. So again, if you have time and put a little effort into
mhm.
learning it, it's getting thing you can end up buying things for a buck or $2, and then you go and look on eBay and all these other platforms and apps, and there's a demand for it. I've heard of, I'm trying to think who this was that told me this, but there was somebody in our, was it Amanda or somebody that mentioned like they use, or somebody, a certain feminine care product. If somebody else in my life, I think that like only, yes, it was somebody else I know, wanted to use this one specific kind of tampon or something like that. And it's discontinued, but there's still so many
Mm,
products out there that was like in Kansas or all these other cities and stuff that like their retail inventory did not sell and they got to get rid of it. So there's people who will go and drive and rent a trailer and drive to the surrounding cities or states and they scoop up all this stuff and then they go and stock their online store. And really all you got to do is with Amazon, if you become a seller there, they want to keep all the listings clean and consistent. You list in what the product is. You don't have to take the pictures. You don't have to write the product descriptions. They pull it all in for you because
hmm.
they want it all. So you make less money if you ship it off to them and them fulfill, but that's also easier. But if you keep it with
Yeah.
yourself and you ship it, I'm just horrible about shipping things.
Yeah, I would never ship it.
Exactly. So, but that is something that like it becomes that easy. So people who aren't tech savvy, you just got to go in the store and you can scan like the products, the barcodes, and it pulls up and you're like, wow, okay. In my hand, it's $2 and people can sell it for 30, whatever. Have you ever done anything like a no spend month challenge? I have never.
No, I've never.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do that. I've heard of a lot of people though doing it where they like will not get new wardrobe items. And I think
Yeah.
not lately that hasn't worked for me.
I just don't feel motivated to do that. Like, if I really needed to, like, if I
Mhm.
needed to be like, "Oh, I'm in, major debt pay down mode," and, whatever, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm
Yeah.
at the point now where I work hard, and I'm
Mhm.
not that you don't work hard. I was working hard when I was making $60,000 too,
Yeah.
but it's like you work to get to that higher income and you
Mhm.
want to feel the kind of rewards of that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I've never done any of those no spend, and I'm in like these lawyer moms groups, and the lawyer moms will do that. They'll be like, "Let's do a no spend this month challenge," and I mean it's great, but I've never done it,
Yeah.
and I don't really have a desire to do it.
Yeah, I know. Either myself, but thought it would be fun to experiment maybe, but not. Okay. Well, so I think like to close this out here, what's really big to know is that like budgeting is really not about restriction at all because we've talked about many solutions here that did not hold us back and our kids involved or who did or didn't have kids wouldn't even know. It's truly just about using that time to create room in your life for what you want next because not everybody's going to be always at the highs. There's going to be
Mhm.
lows and just to find balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so make sure to keep listening and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at A Holistic Dose on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for more fun. And visit our website at aholisticdose.com. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with more unfiltered friend talk right here on A Holistic Dose.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.